This is my financial portfolio as someone who is 21 years old. I am definitely learning. Don't take me for financial advice, but this is just my yearly mentally sane check. Make sure I'm not going balls to the walls, investing in Aerotine International, or making sure I'm also doing something with my money, not just leaving it to rot to inflation. So this is that mentally sane check, even though I kind of lost $10,000 in the last year. Yeah, I guess that just happens. It was kind of my fault. I wasn't FDIC insured or SPIC insured like most banks and investment brokerages are. And that's because I invested in crypto and I kept my money under FTX. And currently, the former CEO of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, is under trial for facing sentences that could just put him in jail for life, as he should. He's literally the only person on earth right now I actually want to burn in a very fiery pit, because he actually misled me and misled millions of people. People left money on an exchange under FTX, which I did, but it was under BlockFi, which FTX owned, and I was trying to seek a yield, even though treasury yields are just as high as the crypto yields were back then. Anyways, I was trying to be too risky, should not have done that. But what happened with FTX, just quick short story, is complete mismanagement of an entire business model and low-key fraud and just stealing and just being a bad member to society. What Bankman-Fried did was people would put their crypto on the exchange and then he would take that money and just spend it out the wazoo in the Bahamas. He would give employees $200 little stimmies to spend on their lunch so they could get lobster and, I don't know, New York strip for lunch every day with DoorDash. They would buy housing in the Bahamas? What type of company does that? And not only this, Sam Bankman-Fried would take people's money and invest it into political campaigns that literally give zero return on investment. So when all of a sudden all the crypto investors are like, wait, this FTX thing is strange. The crypto is in kind of a shaky times. They might not be as profitable as they're saying they are. And everyone tries to do a bank run. And FTX is like, shrug, we don't actually have your money. Even though up until the last minute, Sam Bankman-Fried was like, I don't know what's happening. We shouldn't really be bankrupt. But they definitely were. And this was definitely a good learning story for me. It's not to be super overtly risky. I've definitely been getting less risky over the last couple of years. And this was just a big step towards that, because crypto isn't regulated and things like this can happen because of it. So if you have any crypto on exchanges, I would remove it, find a hardware wallet or a software wallet, own your own keys, and if you have it on exchange, even if it's Coinbase, I kind of don't really trust it until it's federally backed by the government. And it does bother me that Sam Bankman-Fried is pleading not guilty. Like, I understand like the whole justice system is that you always say you're not guilty, like OJ got away with murder basically. But just like, you deserve to be in jail. You do. Days after recording this video, we got some awesome news.
The jury has reached a verdict in the trial of Sam Bankman-Fried.
Sam Bankman-Fried has been found guilty.
Sam Bankman-Fried guilty on all 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy. The 31-year-old was accused of mismanaging customer funds stored in his crypto exchange, FTX, to enrich himself and his family. We're talking about potentially $10 billion in losses.
Right off the bat, opening up my financial portfolio, the slice right here, about 20% of my portfolio is indexes, which I think is pretty good, and that percentage should continue to grow. Half of that 20% is in the S&P 500, and the other half is in the NASDAQ or the QQQM. The QQQM is just more heavily kind of favored and more weighted in technology. So Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, they all hold bigger weights in the NASDAQ than they do in the S&P 500, but both are basically equal for the most part, because in the S&P 500, Apple, Microsoft, they also hold the biggest weight. It's just a bunch of other companies in there, like a McDonald's, like a Starbucks, like a Home Depot, Costco, Visa, etc. in the S&P 500. Another thing that is kind of surprising that definitely wasn't in my portfolio last year is short-term treasuries. Even SoFi Bank, just a bank, I'm putting my money in and I'm getting 4.6% back. Well, if you go directly to the US government, who's buying up all the debt or they're selling their debt. I don't really know exactly how treasuries work, but they're offering around 5.5, 5.6% on 6-month, 3-month, 1-year treasuries, around that percentage, plus minus a couple tenth of percent. The S&P 500 does return around 7 to 10% per year, and I am currently not beating the market. I'm entirely down about 12% in just my individual stock picks, which is kind of okay because S&P 500 is down 20% over the last 2 years. But if you could get a guaranteed 5.6% compared to a risky 7 to 10% per year, then why not invest a little bit in the guaranteed 5 to 6%? Because I can guarantee it won't be here for long. 2 years from now, we won't be looking at 5.6% interest rates at all. Or at least as a Tesla investor, I hope we're not. So a couple things I've learned over the last year, other than increasing my share into ETFs, is that stock valuations do matter. When I first got into the stock market, I was just like, just buy Tesla at whatever price. You know it's going to go up long term. Doesn't matter what it's going to be short term. Just buy it at any price and just put it in the filing cabinet and just wake up in 5 years and it'll be up. Most of that is true, but you can buy at better prices. And what's more important is that value stocks are a thing. And this is where you kind of get really nerdy and technical, where you start looking at free cash flow and PE ratios and PEG ratios, and whether the company's doing stock-based compensation, whether they're buying their own stock, do they have a dividend. It does really get technical really fast. But doing just simple PEG ratio and PE ratio, you can see how grossly undervalued a company like Meta was, for example, at $80, and it was like a 10 PE ratio for a tech company that invests in all of the super hyped potential future innovations such as AI and the metaverse. But paying a 10 PE for a company that just riffs off revenue and free cash flow is kind of ridiculous. So I should have been buying Meta when it was at $80 per share. I wasn't. I was laughing it off like, oh, I'm never going to touch Meta. But if I knew what I knew now, and I learned that PE ratios do matter. So I've actually been buying a company like Dollar General in the last few months because it has hit a PE ratio of like 12, 13, which the average S&P 500 company is kind of like 15 to 25. 25 more so if you're like a tech company, 15 on the lower side. So Dollar General isn't as grossly undervalued as Meta was at 80. That's a very exclusive one in a decade type opportunity. But I believe Dollar General is undervalued. And I think it's a great company for the long term because it's just completely populated in rural America across the country. So that's just kind of like one change in my portfolio in the last year, is that I've actually been dabbling in value stocks a little bit more, and I've been thinking about where my money is going. Like, obviously I'm still gonna invest in Chipotle and Tesla and Apple, but now just in my brain I could tell you, oh, Chipotle right now is at around a 40 to 45 PE. They're doing around $12 in earnings per share per quarter. Tesla, they're doing around 60 cents in earnings per share. They're kind of in between a PE of around 100 for the time being, but they've hit around like a 50 PE if you use the past year EPS, because this quarter and this year is just kind of really a down year with all the price cuts. I just have all this like PE valuation metrics now in my head for most of the companies I own. So I understand that if I'm investing in them, am I grossly overpaying for the company? Because if you are grossly overpaying, you could just wait a little bit and just wait till it's a little bit more fairly valued. And if it gets into super valued territory, you can just load the boat. And that's kind of what I did with Google and Amazon this year. They're actually bigger percentages of my portfolio than Chipotle right now. But that also could sometimes hurt you because you could be catching a falling knife, such as Enphase Energy right now, which is at a lower PE, like under 30, but the whole business is kind of dwindling in the high interest rate environment. Solar is getting hurt worse than housing and automobiles. So Enphase Energy, First Solar, and all the Tigo and all the solar stocks are just getting hit really hard right now. And I've been buying it as it's gone lower, but it's still going lower, so I am catching a falling knife. But that's okay. I think the shares I've been buying is at a decent fair value. Another thing before I share my portfolio of 20 individual companies plus the Magnificent 7 is that I'm actually looking to add Kava, since it's kind of had the post-IPO bubble burst, and also Dutch Bros, since it seems at a reasonable valuation. But before I invest in Dutch Bros, I kind of want to try it first, get to know the company, see the interior design of those small square footage places, because they're actually coming to Orlando. So that's pretty exciting. Tesla, with the recent downturn, I'm actually now negative in Tesla. Fun fact, my whole portfolio was once down like 55-60% because Tesla hit $100 per share. It's now doubled that, now at around 200. But when Tesla got really low, my financial portfolio was in the dumpster. But, just hold on for dear life. And it bounced back. It recovered all the way to 290. So if you bought it to a Tesla share, which was like not too long ago at $100 and just rode all the way to 290, you basically made a 3x in less than 2 years, which is kind of crazy how the swings of Tesla stock could be. But sometimes you can be extremely positive. I was up at one point this year 20% or extremely down, and at one point this past year I was down 55%. So with Tesla, I am losing to the market right now with all my individual stocks, but I kind of am going to beat the market or lose the market based off how Tesla's doing. And like I've said, the interest rates are really getting Tesla. You could hear Elon Musk just like be depressed on the earnings call.
We have to make our cars more affordable so people can buy it. And I keep harping on this interest thing, but I mean, it just raises the cost of the car.
So Tesla, making up a huge chunk of my portfolio, is officially around 41% of my portfolio. How is Tesla doing specifically? Well, in general, they're on pace to deliver 1.8 million cars this year. And as a Tesla fan, who has a Tesla fan right behind this camera, I'm ecstatic. Like, Teslas are everywhere. They are now the iPhone of cars. They're just so good and so simple and so reliable that they're just populating everywhere. And now that the Model 3 Highland is out, which is a thing that was not released a year ago, it came out a couple months ago and hasn't even released in America yet, only in China. But those Model 3s look sweet on the exterior. The interior has a nice refresh, got rid of the gear stock, made everything a little bit more simple and basic than it already was, and just minimalism is the beauty with Teslas. How's everything else? Cybertruck is coming along. The Cybertruck is a new song by Conejo Malo, and the old Model 3 was featured in the latest Mr. Beast video. So just drop in some fun facts right there. Does Tesla need advertising? Tesla is actually about to get started with the Cybertruck production. It is in severely limited production right now. They're probably making like 1 to 2 or 3, maybe 10 Cybertrucks per day, like as of this moment. They have their Cybertruck delivery event on November 30th. Hopefully Tesla doesn't change the date. Tesla is going to deliver Cybertrucks, a super futuristic looking vehicle, and I still haven't seen one with my eyes yet. So that'll be a moment in life for sure when I just drop everything and just Cybertruck is here. And talking about the business in general, on the latest earnings call, Elon Musk was joking, "Oh, we are in a game of pennies," kind of like play on Game of Thrones. And Tesla is fighting every single penny, including the labels on some parts, which is a cent, and getting rid of that, because each vehicle now costs Tesla to make around $37,000. The Model 3 is selling for around that price, the Model Y for a little bit more. And they still have the Model S and X around. How long will that last for? Don't know. This is kind of a quiet time for Tesla, which is kind of weird to say, because they aren't going to start truly building Giga Mexico yet, which is where their next-gen platform is going to be made. Is the next-gen platform just a dedicated robotaxi? Is Tesla going to sell like a $25,000 car, like a 2-seater car to the masses, and try to sell 10 million vehicle units a year off of that volume? I don't know. I kind of don't really know how Tesla's going to get to 10 million, 20 million cars per year as of this moment. It's kind of unknown because Tesla is projected for around 2.2, 2.3 million next year with just the sexy lineup and the Cybertruck. But what is going to unlock the next huge push to the mass market to get to the 5 million, 10 million, 20 million? That answer really isn't clear as of this moment. But the overall Tesla ecosystem is just growing and thriving in a beautiful manner, and it's really becoming a mature tech company. They're always requiring the top recruits, the top engineers always want to work at Tesla and SpaceX. But overall, their services business with the superchargers and the Tesla insurance and Tesla repairs, that is profitable now and growing year after being a negative on the business just a couple years ago. So that's very exciting to see, kind of like how Apple's services revenue is catching up to their hardware revenue. Tesla's service revenue could eventually catch up to the hardware revenue in the long run. It's going to be like decades until that happens. But speaking of superchargers, all the companies except Lucid and Volkswagen have adopted NACS as their charge port of choice in America. So before this huge role reversal of all the companies, they use CCS, which is just a far worse charge connector than NACS. NACS is smaller, just as fast, and takes up less charge port space. CCS is just clunky for no reason. And now in 2024, with an adapter in 2025, all these electric cars that are coming out can use the supercharging network, and that is just more moolah for Tesla. And it's just awesome for the whole electric car market in general. It actually makes non-Teslas more appealing. I do want to comment how the Megapack business is growing wonderfully for Tesla now that Tesla has a dedicated Megapack factory in the US, and battery storage is in demand, especially with the whole California Neon, is it Neon.3? Neo.3? Some California law made it so that if you don't have battery storage connected to your solar panels, it's not really worth it to get solar panels. So now everyone needs a battery in California, and battery storage, it just pairs beautifully with the growing renewable energy future. And commenting on other companies, the UAW strike just ended for Ford, Stellantis, and GM. This is one reason why Tesla doesn't believe in unions, because I'm sure this union strike affected the production rate of those three American car companies while Tesla was just cruising along. And by the way, for all the other electric car makers, they do not know how to make electric cars profitably, which is something Tesla actually does. Ford's losing a ton of money. Rivian is losing a ton of money. They actually had to sell some stock and to receive $1.5 billion from the stock market, diluting shareholders. And Lucid looks like they're going bankrupt unless the Saudis help them more. So making an electric car profitably isn't easy, especially in the high interest rate environment. Yeah, affordability is a major question mark. The next highest weight of an individual stock in my portfolio goes from Tesla at 40% down to Google, which is around 3%. What can I say about Google? Google search isn't dying anytime soon. Google Bard is just as good as ChatGPT, even though everyone is going to Google Gaga over ChatGPT because they had the first mover advantage. OpenAI did. YouTube advertising, always going to be a thing. Google Cloud, in terms of revenue, actually passed YouTube, so that's a bigger part of the business now. Google in general with Waymo and all the other bets, and just everything with Google Docs and Google Sheets, which I'm actually using on my right now. Google's not going anywhere anytime soon, especially with the Google search being the go-to for the iPhone, even though lawsuits are appearing about that. And the next highest weight is Amazon, also at around 3%. Amazon, AWS, Amazon.com, that everyone loves, that really kind of has a monopoly on e-commerce. No one really can compete, and even I buy things on Amazon all the time, and I really don't buy that much stuff all the time. But Amazon just is super convenient. And other than Tesla, I haven't really listened to all the latest earning reports for most of my companies. Don't worry, I will get to it. but school is kind of busy right now, so I'm probably gonna go into all of these earnings reports like Thanksgiving break, winter break, when I just have more free time. There's no rush right now. I'm not like, oh no, this Amazon earnings report. I'm really just gonna sell all my stock and just fear and panic and just panic sell and just get out of there and sell everything. No earnings report really is going to take me away from my fundamental belief in the overall direction of the company. Sure, things could go even better than expectations and maybe a little worse than expectations, but if you believe in the general company's direction, that's usually enough to be an investor. And the next stock, Chipotle, I've held for basically just as long as Tesla. Chipotle is my go-to. 4 price raises in the last 2 years, which is honestly insane. But if you get a chicken bowl and a side tortilla, it is still under $10, and I still believe that is one of the best values for calories, for health in the fast food, fast casual sector. At around 2%, I have Dollar General. Don't really have to say much. Definitely watch Wendover Productions video about Dollar General. And if you go anywhere rural, the only grocery store is Dollar General, so they're kind of the default choice. And it just amazes me how you could have a Dollar General in a town with a population of 1,000 people or less, and Walmart can never access that market. So even though we kind of are in this limbo, like, oh, a looming recession and all this inflation, and people haven't really been buying things at Dollar General in the last year. Dollar General in general is just less profitable in the last year, and that's kind of caused a huge sellout out of Dollar Tree and Dollar General and all the dollar store stocks. Yet again, I believe in the long-term direction of Dollar General. I'm sure in 20 years, Dollar General will be way higher than what it is today. And the next thing you know, in 20 years, you look back at this video and, oh, Dollar General went bankrupt in the year 2029. But going through my next stocks quickly, I have Meta, because I do believe Meta, even at $300 per share, is slightly undervalued for being a tech company with the amount of profit it has. Even though I am so against Instagram, and I don't even know how Facebook is still alive and still growing users, but Facebook is just a profit machine, and you can't argue with results. The next stock after that is Palantir, and I've kind of fell in love with the Palantir community on social media. I'm a man who believes in Alex Karp and his philosophy on life. But from what I've heard about Palantir, they're actually a profitable company about to be included into the S&P 500. But they are definitely an AI company, and they try and make your company more efficient. And hearing like the Hertz CEO rave about the Palantir product, I'm like, okay, Palantir is actually making these companies more money. I don't see why more and more companies won't get into the positive feedback loop system that is the Palantir's Foundry, and even the government business as well. And now we could rattle off a couple value companies I own that are around 1 to 2% of my entire portfolio. That's PayPal, Target. I think both with the recent dips in the past year, I think they're decent buys. And here's Enphase, another 1% of my portfolio. We could not talk about that one. I'm just kidding. Enphase is kind of weird because people don't buy Enphase directly. The solar installers do. So solar installers buy the microcontrollers, which convert, I think, the AC energy into DC energy for the battery, which is, I think that's what microcontrollers do, and they decide which solar panels are working or not. And you can individually turn on or off each solar panel. I think that's the general idea of microcontrollers. But Enphase and First Solar, they kind of have a duopoly of the entire microinverter space. But recently, people in Europe and America, they just haven't been buying solar and putting them on the roofs. And Enphase's revenue has been cut in half from like 700 million to now their guidance for the next quarter is around 350 million. If you look at the stock price, it has been on fire on the way down, all the way from an all-time high of around like 350 to now like $80 to $90 per share. So it's definitely lost a lot. I'm definitely down like 50% on the stock, but hopefully that won't last forever. And créeme, yo espero otra vez I believe in the long-term potential of solar, and I know solar is going to grow. The next percentages are all of the Magnificent Seven: NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple. All amazing companies, can never go wrong owning either one of them, even though NVIDIA has skyrocketed with those H100 AI chips. People are really hyped to get their hands on $10,000 AI chips to build their own large language model. And to be fair, in 2023, this has been the year of AI hype. I've actually seen ChatGPT used in person. People actually mention ChatGPT here and there. My professors are mentioning it. So it is a thing that exists. And I've actually used it from time to time. And it's pretty entertaining and sort of a useful tool. And now getting to the 0.5% of my portfolio, I have companies like Airbnb. I still love their product, even though you come across like Airbnb rants on Reddit like every other month. It's okay. I believe in Airbnb, even though their short-term rentals basically got booted out of New York City, and that could happen in other cities because of the whole housing crisis in certain cities, especially like San Francisco, maybe LA. But I love Airbnbs. Ryan Trainahan, I actually love him as a YouTuber. He just made like a travel vlog reviewing a bunch of tiny homes on Airbnbs that you just can't really get the same vibe and same comfort and luxury with the hotel room. They just never compare. And that's why Airbnbs will always be a thing. And Vrbo is just kind of irrelevant and not really competing. And another one is Celsius. And what's funny is I've kind of actually bullied my manager at Chipotle to start drinking Celsius for his energy drinks instead of Red Bull, because I'm like, Celsius is healthy, less sugar, which it does have less sugar. How more healthy is it than Red Bull? I'm not too sure, but I'll encourage anyone to drink Celsius. I love Celsius, great energy drink brand, and they're only, I think, like 5 to 10% of the entire energy drink market in North America. There are at around a $7 billion market cap. Monster, which has like 50% market share, is around a $60 billion market cap. Coke owns a little bit of Monster, and Pepsi owns a little bit of Celsius. But I still continue to believe that Celsius will continue to grow their market share and officially pass Red Bull as the number 2 to Monster is number 1. Because I don't think Celsius is number 2 yet. I think they're 3 or 4 currently. But they are rising fast, and it's for sure a popular energy drink now around campus and just in real life. And after this next one, Lululemon, we kind of get into names where I just literally have like a couple dollars in. I don't even own a full share. It's just kind of speculative bets for fun. Like less than 0.1% of my portfolio is in these stocks, but it just is how it is. I try to collect them all like a Pokédex, even though there's like 3,000 stocks in the entire US stock market. So I'm glad I'm not even at 100, because that would be embarrassing that I'm investing this much into all these different companies for no reason. So the next company is Lululemon. Lululemon, what to say about them? They're not as popular as Gymshark, but that makes sense because Gymshark sells their stuff for way cheaper than Lulu. But I do love Lululemon, and so do many college kids. Then we have companies such as Netflix, SoFi, which hopefully SoFi becomes profitable in the next year. That's definitely something to watch out for. We have Rivian. I love Rivian as a company. They're fully releasing the R1S and R1T, and my dad actually spotted a Rivian Amazon van in Miami. I still haven't seen one of those, but that's very exciting to see on the roads. We have Crocs. Crocs, definitely a speculative bet. I think their PE ratio is like under 15 as well. So I think it's also like a fair value play. I think it's at like 10 PE ratio, to be more specific, like 9.5. And they also owned this company called Hey Dude that makes up like 25% of their revenue. And I own a pair of Hey Dude shoes myself. And they are kind of like 40 to 50-year-old pairs of shoes, but I like them. And then we have Spotify, which, fun fact, Spotify is continuing to count your music history past October 31st. And they're probably ending it around November 15th. And we have Sweetgreen. Sweetgreen actually kind of very much surprised me, because unlike Chipotle, who they've said that they're investing in technology such as Chippy and Avocado, which is something they unveiled in the last year. And they also have their own robotic digital make line. But Sweetgreen went ahead and actually made a full store right now in Naperville, Illinois that is completely made by robots. Well, obviously humans like prep the food, but the whole line, because you know in Chipotle, like people serve you, do you want white rice or brown rice? Black or pinto beans? And your protein? In this one store in Illinois, it is completely robotic, and Sweetgreen says it's going well. So maybe the robotic takeover in the fast food, fast casual industry is going to happen faster than we think. Also on Etsy and Block, I occasionally buy things from Etsy. I love the app. Not as good as Amazon, but still has a good niche in there for individual unique items. And Block, I use it as my #1 digital wallet, and I just think it has a growing potential. But I left out the one I wanted to brag about at the end, Duolingo, which is 1% of my portfolio. I did all the market research myself, and I bought into my strategy of just buying companies you love. And my gosh, I love Duolingo. They just do so many fun things, whether it's like changing their app like image if you're not doing a lesson, or all the Duo things on the widgets, and they're now getting into music and math. Hopefully one day they get into calculus and like coding and like circuits, and just branch out and do all these different subjects, because I love Duolingo. I'm actually paying for it, and I love the CEO. He actually uses Duolingo, has like a 1,000-day streak, and I just love everything about Duolingo. Co-founder led, very into technology, heavy into social media, and it's just a company I'm riding on. And I am up like 70 to like 100% on the stock, and that's all me, baby. That's all my market research. Even though I had a friend telling me, oh, Duolingo's not gonna go up. Nah, put the seatbelt on, rocket ship Duolingo to the moon. Now that that's out of the way, I have about 5% of my portfolio in crypto. 4% of that is Bitcoin, 1% of that is Ethereum, even though I think it should be a 50-50 split. And I also wouldn't touch any other crypto, even though I do have a very, very small amount in Doge and Cardano. The altcoin market is just trash. It's just basura caliente. This is what I'll call it. That is my financial portfolio. Definitely do not follow my portfolio. These are just my thoughts. One thing I do want to say is that do not touch IPOs. You saw with the Kava IPO, it IPO'd at like $45 to $50 per share. You saw it with the Rivian IPO, it IPO'd for around like $100 billion and came crashing down. You saw it with the Coinbase IPO. Don't touch IPOs for the first couple months, even though it's a company you want to get your hands on. Just wait for the IPO pop. That's my portfolio. My voice is a little weird right now because I'm sick, but I managed to get through this video. Time to go listen to more investor calls.
Like, why did I sleep in the factory so many times? Because it mattered.